One. Welcome to the Reese Report. I'm the mouth of the North, Andrew Reese, and I am a very excited man as we are 1 week away from the Raptors season starting. Having said that, as you can see behind me, we have a Raptors themed show coming, and I just had to do a preseason version of my show. I have a lot of guests coming. My first guest is Tim Roache, who I love having on the show, respect his opinion. I cannot wait to hear the answers to what I'm calling 6 burning questions plus maybe one bonus before the Raptors season starts. Tim, how are you? Are you ready for the season?
I am certainly ready for the season. I am ready. I am ready to go. I'm very excited. I've been kind of watching the preseason games, which has been great. Just to get some basketball back, but NBA season is just around the corner. Fantasy leagues are just around the corner, so
Yeah. Yeah,
be
I'm
ready for that.
anxiously awaiting the season to start because I don't put a whole lot of value in preseason basketball outside of watching what rookies or players on the bubble are going to do. So I'm not going to be one of the guys who overreacts to preseason stuff, but
Yeah.
I am watching it, and there's a specific person that I'm going to be asking you about first that I am watching very closely. So please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps us grow the show. I am going to be doing a lot of Raptors themed shows coming up. We're relaunching the channel, and this is just the start. So I'd like to thank Tim for coming on. And let's start with our 6 burning questions plus maybe one bonus. We'll see where it goes. Um, let's start with Grady Dick, my my draft pick, who I absolutely love. But as I said, I'm not going to answer these questions, guys. This is for my guests. What do you think his impact will be on the team this year?
That's a good question because the preseason's been difficult to tell. Is he in the rotation? Is he not? It's hard to say because we have so many injuries as well. I think Jalen McDaniels is probably going to be in the rotation along with Gary Trent. Um, I could see possibly it might be difficult early for Grady to get minutes, but I think what little bit we've seen in preseason so far, he's more than just a shooter. Like he's he's pretty good at his off-ball defense, like kind of being aware what's going on in the court, his team defensive awareness, I guess I should say. He's had a couple of plays just going to the basket as well. And I think that is going to diversify his game. Like he just can't be just a shooter anymore. It's great if for this team anyway. But he's going to have to eventually do more. So I think his the question is about the impact he's going to have. It's going to depend, I think, on how much Darko is looking to play him. He also is going to have to earn it as well, but he does have a particular skill set that we so desperately need. And his ability to space the floor when Pascal and Scotty both on the court and are both creating, you have a guy who potentially could shoot 40% from three. I think there's a good argument to play him a few minutes a game.
Yeah, I've particularly liked his movement off the ball on both ends. That's what's impressed me. Just his active hands, his ability to move without the basketball. He's not afraid. He's going to take some time, and I think his minutes will steadily go up as the season goes along. But yeah, his skill set is much needed, and I hope that he'll grow into the position and get the minutes he needs to develop. Oh, now we go to Scott Barnes. Um, Simple question: will he take a significant leap this season?
Significantly.
Correct.
At the, I know this is kind of a this could be a subjective question. Depends on what you mean by significant leap. Are you saying all NBA or all star?
I am saying, okay, his first 2 seasons, he won Rookie of the Year, and then last year he kind of plateaued. Is he
Yep.
going to take a step in the direction of becoming uh, an impact player or a potential all-star, or you tell me, is that impact going to happen this year?
There will definitely be a step in the right direction towards an all-star. I am not saying that he's going to be an all-star or definitely not an all NBA. That's
Mm-hmm.
reserved for like the top 10, 15 players in the world.
Correct. Right.
But I think Scotty will take a leap from what I've seen so far in the preseason. The consistency is there. The effort, on both ends of the floor. I think he had 4 blocks the other night against Chicago, which is fantastic, and 3 steals. He has been very aggressive, which is good because I know you have said he has a big body and he's when he's in the post, he's tough to move down there unless he's got Drummond on him or something like that. I've seen him in his rookie year go up against Sabonis and he was going at him and scoring. So there's no reason that he can't now. So I do suspect he's going to take a jump this year, a jump in the right direction for sure. And that's going to come with just an increase in role. I think most nights you're going to see Pascal and Scotty be the number 1 and 2 options on this team. And I think that's something that they should be looking to try to do, regardless.
Yeah, you've got to see what you have in Scott this year. And I've always said you have to allow him to fail. And what I mean by that is you have to give him the opportunity to either succeed or fail. You can't
Yep.
have kid gloves on anymore. Fred is no longer on this team. Now you give him the ball more and see what he can do with it. Whether it works or not, we don't know. But this is a very important season for Scott Barnes to show that he can be an impact player in the NBA on his way to being an all-star. So that's why I asked the question. He has been good in the preseason. He gained weight. I still look at him as a guy who's going to be uh, better in the paint than he is outside of the paint. Although he is hitting a lot of his threes early in the preseason, um, he can play some bully ball against smaller forwards inside. And if he's going downhill, he's going to be a tough guy to stop, provided he doesn't lose the dribble. So um, I'm looking forward to watching him, like many players on this team this year. So
All
I
eyes
think,
on Scotty.
yeah, his leap is going to be necessary for them to finish where I think they're going to finish, but we'll get there. Oh, here's a great one for you, coach, because I know this one got on your nerves last year. The bench was how do I say this nicely? Horrendous last year. Pretty bad. Um, where do you think the bench will rank this year? Considering they were 27th last year, where will they rank this year, and how will they impact the team?
Well, I think the other night against Chicago, they scored 40 bench points. Chicago hit 21, which was good. Now, I get it. That's kind of a preseason game, but it's a good sign. We have more functional bench pieces. I'm going to steal a line from Hopeful, and I think he's correct on that. We have more functional bench pieces this year.
Yes.
With Gary Trent, assuming that he's going to continue to come in off the bench, Jalen McDaniels is a serviceable NBA player, and I've been kind of raving about him, but I think he's a good fit for this team. I suspect that Grady's going to get some time. I think there's going to be potentially a jump from Precious. Boucher, it's going to be Boucher. He's good. He's going to
Energy.
give you consistent effort and energy, and that will
Yeah.
always get you points in the NBA. The way that he is around the offensive boards and stuff like that, that's just going to help him for sure. So I do see a big jump at the bench. I hope that Koloko is going to come back soon. I think he can be
Yeah.
instrumental for this team in the next 3 to 5 years, and they're going to need him. And I hope that this bench, I think you said last year we were 26th in
Yeah.
bench
20,
scoring. Was it
27th, I believe, in bench scoring. It might have been even
27th?
lower than that. Yeah.
I think their goal really should be in that top 16 to 18 range. I think if you do that, that's a significant improvement from last year. And I think that's realistic as well. We have some scoring off the bench. And I forgot Otto Porter. If we have an actual 50 game Otto Porter who is healthy, he helped win a championship in Golden State. I'm not saying he was Curry or Wiggins or stuff like that, but he played a big role in that. And he could
Yeah.
play a big role on this team because he shoots 40% from three. and he's a versatile defender. So if you have a healthy Otto Porter, 50 games, load manage him like Kawhi. Just do that. And if you do that, and we can have Otto Porter coming off the bench, it's gonna be better for this team moving forward. He's a good player.
Yeah, I'm very worried about Otto Porter.
Oh, I am
If you're,
too.
yeah, if you're someone who's missed a year, I fully would have expected him to want to play in the preseason to see how he's feeling, to test his toe out before the season starts. And it doesn't look like he's going to get into any games. Also, Precious has been out with a groin strain. So uh, I'm really worried about Otto and how much impact he's going to have. But the good news is we have so many other pieces that can fill that spot. So McDaniels has looked excellent in the preseason. I like him a lot. I'm
Yep.
looking forward to seeing him. Um, there are other players, but I'm going to be nice today that I'm not going to mention that have not impressed me, but I'm not doing that today. Um,
I think I know one.
we have a hole at backup point guard. Let me just put it that way.
Yes. No, we do.
A big hole to the point where Gary Trent, who is not known as a good passer, is someone I'd rather have there than the other person that I refuse to talk about right now. And that's saying something considering Gary Trent's not exactly the best passer in the world and is a person who likes to shoot the basketball first. But I digress. We'll see what happens. That position is a disaster right now. But it's maybe by the season we'll have that one figured out. Someone let me know if there's a Jeff Doughton sighting. I digress. Now, having said that, this is a question that I'm looking forward to asking everybody. Tim, what is your starting lineup and your closing lineup this season?
Ooh, good question. Um, there's part of me I want Gary to start over Dennis because I do worry a little bit about the shooting in that. But it looks like it's going to go with Schroeder and OG and Scotty and Pascal Pirtle, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Dennis Schroeder, he doesn't force anything from what I can tell. Like every shot that he's basically taken so far has been in rhythm. It makes sense. I don't think he's going to put up a big time numbers, and he doesn't have to, I don't think. Can
yeah,
we just be an efficient team? And that's what really matters. Because how many games did we see last year where we shot 20 more shots than the other team and still lost? That can't
yeah,
happen this year,
yeah. Not good.
right?
Ugly three
Right.
point shooting.
Yeah. So what Darko starters are, I understand. That's fine with me.
Hmm.
You asked me about my closing
Now,
line.
who's closing the game for you? That's even more important. Who's closing the game for you?
So this will depend. Now, if I had to say today, I'm taking Pirtle out and I'm putting Scotty at center, and Gary will be in the game. So it'll be Schroeder and Gary and OG and Pascal and Scotty. I worry about Pirtle's free throw shooting down the stretch. I think these have been good minutes for Scotty to play backup five. He's You could kind of put him in that Sabonis role a little bit. Like he's pretty good at seeing the court. Nothing Pirtle does a good job of that too. But
Hmm.
down the stretch, teams they play a bit tougher and the intensity picks up and guys get fouled. And with Pirtle shooting at about 65% around that, I'd rather go with Scotty who's near 80% at the free throw line. That also gives you a bit mobility out on the 3-point line if you have some switching and stuff like that. So I would be starting Scotty at the five down the stretch and bringing Gary in also to stretch the floor for them as well.
Yeah, I really like that small lineup. I've been discussing it a lot amongst my peers, and I really like that small lineup with Scotty at center. And I think we're going to see it pretty early on. We're going to see that lineup closing out games. Obviously, depending on the situation. Maybe if you need defense, you have Pirtle out there. If you need offense, you have Scotty out there. Um, and then a mix. And I do think Dennis will close games because Darko has raved about him and will want him slashing in the lane late in games. So it'll be a small lineup, but it'll be a mix of three 3-point shooters with Scotty and Dennis or with Gary. So I agree with you there. Okay, now we get to the management section. Since Masai Ujiri didn't give us any answers to any of our questions during the presser, I'm going to ask my peers who are actually going to give me an answer on this one. So Which of Pascal Siakam, Gary Trent Jr., and OG will still be with the Raptors after the trade deadline?
Uh, Deadline. I think I can confirm one.
Okay.
It's the other two might be on the team. That doesn't mean that they might be gone the end of the season, like in the
Right.
off season.
Right.
I think Pascal will remain here. I can't say the same about OG and Gary Trent, especially with Gary's comment yesterday about like, yeah, I really want to start, which
Yeah.
makes sense, right? So when he says things like that, there's a desire to start for a team.
Yes.
And if he's not going
Yes.
to start here, if he has an opportunity to start somewhere else, why wouldn't you want to take that?
He wants to get paid, coach. That
Yep.
comment was, I need to start because I want to get paid. I opted in to get another opportunity to start so I can get paid. That's what that was.
Yep.
But then he said it is what it is, and you could tell it bothered him. I heard a lot of people saying it was professional. He did say it nicely, but the
He
message
did.
was, I want to start and get paid. That was the message.
And he's been a guy, I must say, over the last year and a half, what he went through with Nick Nurse, I must say he's been very professional over all
Yes.
that. Starting, not starting, starting, not starting, Nurse calling him out in the media and stuff like that. He had every right. If he wanted to leave, it would have been understandable in the offseason just based on what
Yeah.
he went through. But I'm sure with a new head coach, new opportunity, plus the ability to get a bigger contract, it just is like, well, it makes sense for me to stay here.
Yeah, I think he should embrace the six man role. I think you can make a lot of money being the best or one of the best six men in the league.
Yep.
So embrace that. My only regret is if he doesn't start, it will take away from minutes for Grady. So I was hoping he would start and Grady would come off the bench for him, but it looks like as a result of him being on the bench, Grady will probably play less, especially to start the year. And so that's fine. Grady will come along slowly, but yeah, that does change the dynamic for Grady a little bit, especially if Otto's there as well. So here's hoping that Grady gets his minutes anyway to develop because you have to play to develop. I don't believe watching helps you get better. So we'll see what happens there. And finally, I'm going to put you on the spot, Tim.
Okay.
What will the Raptors record be this year, and what seed will they be?
Ooh, I think the Raptors are going to win about 46 games this year. They won 41 last year with a lot of injuries, a terrible offense, and no shooting. It was a miracle they actually won that many
A
games.
miracle,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I actually would say that the high end, that's everything goes well, people are healthy, there's no major injuries, 48 wins actually, but I'm taking that into consideration. And the East hasn't really changed that much, and it's top heavy, but it's not
Yeah,
like Dame went to Miami or Drew Holiday went to another
yeah.
mid-level team per se. They
And
went to the
Philly's a
two best
mess.
teams.
And
Yeah, they
Philly's a
went to the two
mess.
best teams. Yeah, and
So,
Philly's it's a big question mark there. So I got them around 46 wins. That's five more wins than they got last year. How many games did we watch that they blew last year that they should have won? A
oh,
lot.
plenty, plenty,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
And they were 15-10 once Pirtle showed up. So in 25 games, you win 15 games.
yeah.
And if they had someone to box out Steven Adams instead of four guys last year trying to box
Oh,
them out, they probably
that
would have won
was
that game.
that was a man with boys. It was so
Yes,
ridiculous.
that was bad. So I have them winning about 46 games, I think.
Yeah, and the thing with the Raptors also lost like every game to the big three. I think they were 1-3 against Philly, 0-4 against the Bucks, and 0-4 against the Celtics. So they're gonna have to win some of those games. They were 3-1 against the Cavs. Um, and they're gonna have to beat the bad teams. What I find with the Raptors is sometimes they play down to their competition. They're gonna have to be ready every single night to win games that they should win. Um,
Yep.
so that's the key. Everyone knows I have 44 wins for the Raptors this year. I think they could be as high as a 6 seed this year. The East is kind of wide open after the top two seeds. Boston and Milwaukee will be the top two seeds. After that, it's wide open. I mean, the Cavs, they should be up there. They won 51 games last year, although There's a little chemistry issue going on there. I'm not sure about the Knicks. They're a team that can go up or down. And so there are opportunities in the East to be better than expected. So we shall see.
Yeah, I would say I can see the Raptors finishing as high as the fifth seed. That's everything goes well for them. But I do suspect they're going to be somewhere between 6 and 9.
Yeah. I mean, Philadelphia is kind of a mess, but they still have Embiid and they still have a pretty good depth. Like having Maxey and Harris still there doesn't really hurt you. They were
So
also a really good team before Harden got there. So I suspect that they won't drop too much and they'll still be 3 or 4. So I think the spots we're fighting for at the absolute best is 5, perhaps 4, but I think 6 is more reasonable or lower. But we shall see. Obviously, it's an encouraging start. But one of the preseason games I don't count because they played a team with no NBA players. That was just a joke.
that was bad.
They did beat Sacramento and Chicago in close games, but again, the preseason, unless you're going 0-7, it doesn't really matter. And since we
No.
have time, I'll ask a bonus question. Here's the bonus question: will the Raptors miss Fred VanVleet?
Well, they misread. I don't think so, but I think also, and I think you mentioned this comment before. I think Schroeder has to make people forget
Yes,
that we're missing Fred.
and
And
Scott,
Scott,
Scotty Barnes. I think Scotty and Dennis have to.
oh Scotty, oh sorry, Scotty and
Yes,
Dennis. Gotcha.
both
Um,
have to make us forget about Fred. Yes.
yes. And yeah, I mean, Fred might put up better numbers than Schroeder. Fred might be a better player. That doesn't mean that he's the best fit for this team. And I think
Absolutely correct.
I've seen journalists tweet out, and they're starting to come around a little bit now because they didn't like when Fred left, but they're like, well, it looks like Schroeder might be the better fit now, even though Fred's a better player. And we've kind of been talking about this. It's like Schroeder is typically in the playoffs every year that he's played. When he was in Atlanta, they had those good teams in the mid 2000s with him and Horford and Joe Johnson. Who was in the playoffs? Shooter was. Went to OKC in the bubble. Him and Chris Paul. They're in the playoffs. He goes to LA. He wins a title. Goes to Boston. I think he's back in the playoffs. Goes back to LA. He's in the Eastern or the Western Conference Finals, and he was LeBron's second best guard to Austin Reeves, in my opinion. It wasn't D'Angelo Russell; it was Schroeder.
Correct.
And now
Correct.
this year, he's in the prime of his career. He just has a skill set that might be more complementary to this team. He's pretty pesky defender. Not that Fred isn't, because he is, but I think Schroeder's just a different body type where he's quicker and stuff like that. And he's got a little bit of flash to him as well with some of his passing and stuff like that. And he's the best player in the world right now from the FIBA tournament.
Exactly. He's a feisty, not afraid, slashing, type of player. And I think the reason he's here is the coach. The coach loves him,
Yeah,
loves his game, knows that he'll get exactly what he wants out of him. And I said this when it happened, when everyone was like, why are we doing this? Like everyone was freaking out about Fred. It's like, you got to understand, fit is important. Like this
is
is not NBA 2K. You don't make an all-star team and you win every game by 50. Even in
mm,
the NBA, we're seeing super teams not have the success they did when Golden State was around. And remember, the Golden State super teams, Kevin Durant was the perfect fit. It wasn't just that they added Kevin Durant. And so you have to have the right fit. And I think Schroeder's game, the way he plays, is a better fit for the style of offense the Raptors are going to play this season, which is a lot of ball movement, a lot of back picking, a lot of movement without the basketball. That didn't happen last year. We were ISO heavy last year. And
yes.
boy, oh boy, was it made clear by both Masai and Darko that that's what's going to happen this year with the selfish comments and with moving the basketball. There are certain players on this team that haven't got with the program yet, and I suspect it's going to cost them minutes. Gary is working on it. He's had good moments and bad moments in the preseason with selfishness. He got rejected pretty badly trying to dunk on someone when he had an open man, also taking a couple of wild shots. So it's going to take time, but I think that the ball movement offense should really help the Raptors not only be better and more efficient offensively, but save their energy as well for the defensive end. Which I should have asked how good they'll be at defensively this year. I think they'll be a much better defensive team this year because they won't have guys dead tired in the fourth quarter blowing big leads. So
Yeah.
that will be another big factor. Anything else you wanted to add before the season starts, Coach? Because that's all my questions.
Well, Darko,
Yes,
and I'm excited for this hire of him. And when I look at Darko's profile, I always look to see with coaches, well, who have you been with? What coaches or what teams? So he was in OKC. I know he was with Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan's a pretty good coach in the NBA. He took that OKC team to the Western Conference Finals. They ended up losing to Golden State, but still, Darko was there with Billy Donovan, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. Okay, then he goes on to and Chris Paul the year after. Then he goes to
mm,
Phoenix. He's there with Monty Williams. Monty Williams, very respected, very good coach. Who was Darko there with? DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker. Then he moves on to Memphis. He's there with Taylor Jenkins, good coach. And Desmond Bain, Jaron Jackson, John Morant, your guy
Tyus
Aldama, I think
Jones,
Tyus
Aldama.
Jones.
I
Yep.
mean that bench was excellent, absolutely excellent.
Yes.
Yeah,
Where he's gone, he's been with winning programs. And not so much they've won the title per se, but certainly programs that are really good. In OKC,
mm-hmm.
they were very good and they're getting better now, but they were
Yes,
good there for a long time.
yes,
Phoenix, was good for well, they're still good, but he was on that team when they were up and coming with Bridges and Aiton and Booker. And then he goes to Memphis, so he's been with coaches and he's been with players who can coach and who can play.
yeah,
There's no reason, I shouldn't say there's no reason, but this looks to be a good bet for the Raptors to bring in a guy who can develop and win.
yeah. And he's earned his coaching opportunity. Now it may have taken a month and a half to make this decision, but I feel like it's the right decision. Um,
You know the
and
Raptors.
they're just this is who they are,
This is
unfortunately.
who they
But
are. Yeah.
if you take a month and a half and you make the right decision, I don't care how long it takes. But this team last year, and me and you were frustrated about this, coach. This team needed a coach that was going to preach ball movement and more movement without the basketball. And the team needed a better bench so that the players that start the games are not dead in the fourth quarter. All of that has happened. Now it's up to the players, and they've got to listen to this new coach and try to get it done.
Here's my one concern that I have right now. Actually, I have two. If Pirtle's in foul trouble, you kind of still need a 7 footer or some guy in there who's just going to rebound, defend, score a little bit. I hope we can get that from Precious Achua. We'll see. Christian Coloco, you just don't know when he's going to come back. So I
Yeah,
am a little concerned there. If Pirtle's ever in foul trouble or he's hurt, what this team is going to do. Because basically it's the same team as last year before Pirtle showed up, which is going to be
right.
concerning if you're going up against uh, Gobert, Steven Adams, some of those guys. My other concern,
Yes.
you kind of mentioned it earlier, the backup point guard situation. I remember I was speaking to you and Hopeful and beyond at the deadline. I said, we need a backup point guard because you're going to run Fred into the ground. But what
Yeah.
happened? They didn't go out and get a backup point guard. And basically the whole team was running to the ground.
Yeah.
So I hope for Malachi that it's going to be development. They may have to try to play either Malachi or Jeff Doughton for now, but they're going to have to address this if they want to be competitive this year. Because you can't have Schroeder play 36 minutes a night like he did to Fred. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Same goes for Scotty. Malachi Flynn. I'm sorry to all those Flynn fans out there. He's not the answer. Um, and I know I'm not trying to overrate preseason, but he was awful the other night, and he's just not. He's not a prototypical point guard. He's a guy who likes to shoot the basketball quick, early, and get his opportunities in because he's still afraid he's going to get taken off quickly, despite getting ample minutes this season, this preseason. He's the same player he was in year one that he is now. There's been no significant development in his game. He's the exact same player. You have to be able to improve in that position. And if it's not going to be Jeff Doughton, you've got to go out and get somebody who can play significant minutes. And I just don't think it can be Malachi Flynn.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Nurse was going with Doughton towards the end of the year, and you know this. It's like if you're going to be a really competitive, good team, you're going to need a backup point guard who could come in and be productive. Now, Doughton's a
Yeah.
little productive, I find, defensively. Flynn, do think he does have that ability to be a pretty good catch and shooter, but we need to see it because
Yeah.
that's how he stays in the league is his catch and shoot ability. He can shoot 37 to 40% from three just because of his size. That's all I'm saying. Not so much
Mm.
the other stuff, but if he's able to be a good catch and shoot um, threat on the floor, he can help. But we
Yeah.
need to see that.
I haven't seen it in 4 years, so I'm not
Yeah.
holding my breath on that one. And yes, they need someone who can run the second unit. And
Yeah.
because they're starting both Schroeder and Scott, they don't have that.
Yeah.
So that is a concern, depending on how Darko staggers his lineups. We have a good bench, but that position is a hole right now. So
Yeah.
we'll see what's going to happen, if there's going to be trades, if there's going to be, I know the team's going to go in the way it is now, but we'll see if there's a chance to pick up a backup point guard. Noel is not going to be that backup point guard. I don't think it's going to be Doughton either. Liberty Freeman, I mean, he's on a two-way. He's not the answer there. So we're certainly not Ron Harper. So they're going to have to look at that, and not Will Barton. Let's not do that again. You know, hopefully there's somebody out there who can run the team for a few minutes in relief of Dennis Schroeder, but we'll see. You know how slow this front office works, so I'm not holding my breath. We're going to have the team that we have, and we're going to have to work it out. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Snail's pace with this front office is
Yes.
just
Yes. No, I am not counting on anything significant to happen until the team progresses through the season and we see what their record is and how they're playing. And then we'll see if Masai sticks to his word, as if there's any selfishness, people will be moved. So the first 2 months of the season is going to be very interesting for this team. And I have
it will
some
be.
good hopes. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm not, last year I wasn't excited at all. This year I'm excited to watch this team. So we'll see. And those are my questions for Tim. I have Nelly J on tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to have Hopeful on as well. I have Curly coming on the show Monday. And I'm
Hey,
gonna I got Beyond the Locker Room, and I have JD all before the season starts, guys. So you have all that to look forward to. So please like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you think of the show. I'm really looking to grow, get to 1,000 subscribers this year. I'm at 666 right now, which is unlucky. So if someone could get me off that number, that'd be nice, because 666 is not good. I need to move it up.
no.
So I got
I wish
someone
I could
someone
be that
subscribe.
subscriber to get you up to 667, but I'm already
Yes.
subscribed to you, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I need to get off 666, guys. It's been there too long. It's a little nerve-wracking. Okay. So I thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoy the show. I'd like to thank Tim for coming on. I'm the Mouth of North, Andrew Reese, and I will see you next time on the Reese Report.